The difference between the life that you have now and the life that you want is that you're creating a separation between it. The separation between what you want when you say, I really want to be this. I want to be a podcaster. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be better with my faith. I want. You're creating this narrative that it's so far out of reach. No matter if you put a deadline on it, what I've noticed is that when I'm creating where I'm at now to where I want to be, what I say about it is so important. And if I'm not careful with it, I may be running, or I guess what they say, going nowhere fast. Meaning you think you're getting somewhere, but you're not, because the way that you're speaking about it is manifesting in reality. So, for example, say you really do want to start a podcast. However, you keep saying, like, I want this equipment. I want that microphone that I hear my favorite podcasters using. I want a nice setup. I want a nice camera. Instead of saying, I have a phone that records voice memos. I have a phone that records video. I have somewhere I can make content. Using what you already have allows your life to elevate even more, because it shows what you can do if you're at the bottom of the barrel in your eyes. A lot of people would truly want to be in your shoes. Some people aren't. And some people would do whatever they could with a voice recorder that's like $10 at the Best Buy. So what I would love to focus on is making the most of what you have. What you have is what you got right now, right? Sometimes what I've noticed is that God will give me a few things, see what I'll do with it and for how long I'll stick with it. Because sometimes he's testing to see if you actually really want it, if you're ready for it. And there have been so many times where I was not ready for the thing that I really wanted. And thank God I didn't get it then. I would not have known how to keep it, maintain it, respect it. And this isn't just about content creation. This is about relationships. It's about a job. It's about a mentality. It's about your physique. Whatever it is for you, thank God you didn't get it when you wanted it. And even if you're in the midst of wanting something and wishing it would have happened the way that you saw it to happen, think of it as protection, not rejection, because it's so easy to get down in the dumps about the fact that you didn't get what you worked so hard for, or that you thought, like, for sure, like you had it in the bag, it was yours. It's so easy to think that you just were without, but really, you want something, but you also want to keep it, right? Say, for example, I had gotten the job that I wanted, that maybe, like, actually, I'm not going to give you an example. I'll give you an experience. I was between two jobs a few years ago. Between one job where I was like, oh, I feel like this will be super cool, and they got a big name, big brand attached to it. And then the other job, I was like, oh, but this is also cool. More of the agency vibe, kind of where I'd like to see myself in the future. What if I choose wrong? Long story short, I had to make a decision. You know, just like kind of the podcast that I mentioned before. If I had not made a decision on at least one of them, I would not have been prepared for what came next. To end it off, I ended up being able to experience both jobs. One job, which was option A that I went with, it only lasted about 7 or 8 months. And thank God I chose that one first. I didn't know what I was doing and if it was the right choice. But God has a funny way of making things work out right the way it needs to. And I realized, wow, I was not prepared for the job I ended up leaving that job for. I had to experience a few people, a few types of personalities that made me realize no matter where I go, there's always going to be this person at a job. It was about what I responded with that helped me realize, okay, whenever I experience this type of personality, which I know clashes with mine, I'm going to do my best to remove myself from it so that I don't act out of character. Like, we're in our gentle era. We're in our soft girl era. We are in our non-confrontational era. Now, don't get me wrong. It's very situational based. But for the most part, most things don't need a reaction. Most things want a reaction. It's when you don't give it to them that really, really gets under their wave. And so I digress. And I want to talk more about the topic of this video, which is the life that you want. It is not that far out of reach. You're only making it sound like it is. Therefore, it's taking you a little bit longer. Write them down. Write down what you want. Write down where you see yourself this time in a couple months. Like, what's today, October 26th? Where are you December 26th? What are you doing? What are you wearing? What does your hair look like? Where are you at? The minute you get specific with the life that you're living, the more specific you can get towards the life you want, the life you already have, but have yet to step in. I have wasted so much time telling myself I want this, making the vision board, saying this, saying that, instead of saying I already have this. I already have this. I am just not operating in the version of myself that already obtains the thing that I want. It's so mental, it's not even funny. You could do nothing else but believe you have something and it will happen. May be unconventional, but with some work, with some effort, and with a lot of belief, I mean, it can truly be night and day. So just start thinking to yourself, what have I been telling myself that makes it seem like it's so far out of reach? What have I been saying I've been wanting? Instead of saying, I have. You say something long enough, you start to believe it. That's why it's important to remember what you tell yourself, because that can be positive or negative. I just wanted to hop on here and say that your dream life is not that far out of reach. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about that on this channel so that you can really get into that mindset shift that completely transforms your reality. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. The way that my podcast is just growing, it's increasing, like the value I'm receiving and being the vessel that God has truly made me to be. The way that I'm seeing dividends just simply by being obedient, even if I'm not seeing the numbers that I deem as successful. Someone watching this video needed to see this because they were doubting themselves. They didn't feel like themselves. They weren't sure. So thank God that you came across this. Thank God you were in the right place at the right time. This was meant to be heard by you today. Please comment below if you want to see more of this and being a little bit more specific, because I'm about to take this on a whole series. This is going to be a completely different landscape. I'm going to talk a lot more about this on my actual podcast platform, Party of One Podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you may listen. And please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel anywhere that you find that there's value in what you're listening to that's coming out of my mouth. Always happy to have you here. So I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.